Hey everyone, Kevin P. McAuliffe here for Ice Cream Factory, and in this Boris TV tutorial, I want to introduce you to the new Ice Cream Factory DVE Transition Pack created by yours truly, Kevin P. McAuliffe. I created this transition pack because one thing that I always found myself doing was leaving my nonlinear editing application to create transitions in external motion graphics applications. Well, with this pack, I've included 74 transitions that I've used as an editor at one time or another, and I think that this is really going to add not only an extra level of production value to your work, but it's going to save you a lot of time from having to create these looks yourself. Now, can you believe that Boris FX's RED 5 is available in 9 different host applications? That's right, 9 different host applications. And in this tutorial, I'm going to show you 2 of those host applications. I'm going to show you Apple's Final Cut Pro 7, and I'm going to show you Avid's Symphony 6. Now, obviously, everything that I show is going to transfer over to your nonlinear editing or compositing application, so keep that in mind as you're watching along. Now, the first thing that we obviously need to talk about is installation. And when you purchase the DVE presets from Ice Cream Factory, you're going to get your link to your download. And when you download, now in this case I'm showing it to you on a Mac, but the Windows download is going to be very similar. You're going to see that once the installer downloads, you're going to be greeted with 4 different icons. You're going to have some notes on the DVE transitions. You're going to have the actual installer itself. For all of you Mac users out there, you're going to have access to the transitions in a Final Cut Pro bin. You'll see as I double click on it, there's the Final Cut Pro project, and we're going to get more into this project in just a second. And last but certainly not least, for all of you Avid FX users out there, you're going to see that you have the transitions inside of an Avid bin. Now again, we're going to get to that in just a second, but let's talk about the installation. Let me just come back. I'm going to double click on the installer. You'll see that I'm greeted by the introduction screen. I'm simply going to say continue. We obviously have the licensing agreement that you should read through before you say continue. We're simply going to say I agree. Let me just close this window here. It's going to ask me where do I want to install everything to. I'm going to install it to my Lion drive. I'm simply going to say continue. And now it's going to ask me what do I want to install. Now in this case, I'm just going to install everything. And I'm simply going to say continue. I'm going to say install. And you're going to see that in a matter of seconds, once I enter my password here, that in a matter of seconds, we're going to have everything installed, ready to go. Now, as far as that Final Cut Pro project and that Avid bin, where were they sent to? Well, obviously you saw before that once I open the installer, I can simply come back to the installer here. You'll see that I can simply come in and copy them right out of the folder right here. Or what's going to happen for safekeeping if you happen to have it selected in the installer is that if you navigate to the applications folder, and you come all the way back up here to the E section for, appropriately enough, Ice Cream Factory, you'll see that those 2 folders have been put right into this folder right here, so now you have a backup of it. Okay, so I think the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to get into Final Cut Pro and I'm going to show you how these transitions work with Boris RED 5. Okay, so let's Command Tab into Final Cut Pro 7 and you'll see that I have a timeline here with 2 shots ready to have a transition applied in between the 2 of them. And applying these presets is actually very easy. What we're going to do is we're going to navigate to Effects. I'm going to come to Video Transitions. I'm going to drop down the Boris category. You'll see that I have the Boris RED Transition 5. I'm simply going to take the transition. I'm going to drag it down here. I'm going to drop it in between the 2 clips. And what I'm going to do now, you'll see that it has a default transition in there, but what I'm going to do is just double click on the transition and you'll see that I can actually make this transition as long as I want. So for argument's sake, let's just make it 2 seconds long. Once I do that, I'm ready to get in and choose the preset. So what I'm going to do is simply click on the Customize button, and you'll see that what I'm brought to now is actually the library browser inside of template mode. We'll take a look at this. If I come down and I click on Advanced mode, you'll see that I now have access to the entire RED interface inside of Final Cut Pro 7. But again, like I said, I really only need template mode to get in and to select the transition preset that I want to use. Now, how we find them is very easy. I'm going to navigate down to Transitions. I'm going to come down to the Ice Cream Factory, and I'm going to select Kevin P. McAuliffe. Now, of course, I do need to drop this down because who knows, I might have more collections coming down the road, but right now we want to select the 74 DVE transitions, and you're going to see that each one of them has a preview that's associated with it. Now, I'm going to pick one of my personal favorites, which is right down here. It's number 50, and it's the Cosmic Zoom. Now, once I say apply, you're going to see that it's immediately updated inside of Final Cut Pro 7, and if I just drag through, you'll see that the effect has now been built lightning fast and basically ready for me just to render. So let's do that. I'm simply going to hit Command and R on the keyboard, and you'll see that in a matter of seconds, I have this effect ready to go and ready to play back. So once my render's done, I'm simply going to hit Home on the keyboard. I'm going to hit the space bar to play the clip, and you'll see that I now have the Cosmic Zoom transition right there looking very nice. Now, this is pretty much the standard workflow for all of the RED 5 host applications, but as I said in the intro, I've done something a little bit different for Final Cut Pro 7 and for Avid Media Composer 6 and Symphony 6 users. What you can actually do inside of Final Cut Pro is you can press Command and O. You can navigate to the Transitions in an FCP bin inside the Ice Cream Factory 74 DVE Transitions, obviously inside your Applications folder. And what you can do is you can open this project, and you're going to see in here that you have access to all of the effects. And I'm just going to come down here. I'm going to delete this effect, and let's just grab that Cosmic Zoom effect again here. There it is, number 50. I'm simply going to drag it right down here, drop it onto the clip, and you'll see that that Cosmic Zoom effect has now been applied literally in a matter of seconds. Now, I know what you're probably thinking to yourself. You're probably thinking, well, you know what? Then I got to get into opening that project every time, and that just seems to be a big pain. Well, guess what? You don't have to do that either. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to separate this project from the others. I'm going to navigate over to the Effects tab, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to come all the way back to the top, and I'm going to grab the Ice Cream Factory DVE Transitions folder, and I'm going to drag it right over here into my favorites. Now what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to close this project. I'm not going to save anything. And you'll see now that the DVE effects now live inside of my favorites, and I can get in and access them any time that I want to, literally at the click of a button. And as I said before, I applied that effect lightning quick. What if I wanted to extend this effect down? You'll see it's only a second long. What if I wanted to make it, let's say, 3 seconds? Well, I can simply double click, come up here, punch in 3 seconds, hit enter, and guess what? My Cosmic Zoom is now 3 seconds long. I can simply render this out now. And you'll see that if I hit the home key, actually let's make sure we don't have the effect selected. I'm going to hit the home key here. I'm going to hit the space bar, and what we have now is a nice extended Cosmic Zoom effect. Very, very nice. Okay, so like I said, that's pretty much how things are going to work in the host applications that are supported for RED 5 and in Final Cut Pro 7 specifically. Now, let's get in and let's talk about Media Composer 6 and Symphony 6 because things are a little bit different for those applications. Okay, so let's hide out of Final Cut Pro 7 because I do want to remind all Media Composer 6 and Symphony 6 editors that you actually already have Avid FX and you might not even know it. Just by purchasing Media Composer 6 or Symphony 6, you actually now have purchased RED 5, or in this case, it's been rebranded as Avid FX for your nonlinear editing application. All you need to do if you purchase the software from Avid directly is a direct download. Just check your email because you'll have been emailed the license code for Avid FX, and to find it is actually very simple. Using Symphony as an example, I can simply navigate into the Symphony download folder. I can come to additional files. I can come to the production suite, and you'll see in there I have access to Avid FX right up here at the top. All I have to do is simply install it, enter my license code, and I'll be all set to go. What I'm going to do is just close those folders, and I'm going to Command Tab into Symphony, and you're going to see that if I come over to my main project and I hit Command and 8 on the Mac control and 8 on Windows, you'll see that the very first option I now have inside of the effects palette is Avid FX, and you'll see that I have the Avid FX filter, the title matte effect, or the transition effect. So let's put a couple clips into a timeline here so we can see exactly how this is going to work. I'm just going to grab a couple clips here at random. We'll just grab this clip down here. Very nice. I'll hit B on the keyboard. Now to access these effects, again, much like in Final Cut Pro, is very simple. I'm going to again hit Command and 8 on the keyboard. I'm simply going to grab the Avid FX transition effect. I'm going to drag it right down here and drop it onto the clip. Now you'll see that by default, the effect, if I step into effects mode by pressing Shift and Y on the keyboard, which is my shortcut to get into effects mode, if you don't have a shortcut mapped for effects mode on your keyboard, no problem. You can simply access it by coming right over here and clicking on the effects mode button, or there's another one located right over here at the top of your timeline. What I'm going to do is just launch the user interface, and in a matter of seconds, the Avid FX user interface is going to appear. And you'll see that right now I happen to be on the library browser. Well, much like in the RED 5 interface from Final Cut Pro 7, all I'm going to do is simply drop down the Avid FX 6 keyframe library. I'm going to navigate to transitions. Let's just scroll down here, and I'm going to come down to the Ice Cream Factory. I'm just going to drop that down. We'll just drag down proper way here. There we go. There's the Kevin P. McAuliffe transitions right here, 74 DVE transitions, and you can see them all ready to go with their previews. What I'm going to do again is I'm just going to drag down to the exact same preset that we did before, number 50 Cosmic Zoom. I could simply double click on it, and you'll see as soon as I do, we now have the transition all set to go. You'll see it preview right up here. I can simply preview it right there, and we're all ready to go. What I'm going to do is now simply say apply, And you're going to see now that my timeline has immediately been updated with that preset transition. Now, of course, again, if I didn't want it to be, and I'll just drag the effects editor up here a little bit, if I didn't want it to be the standard 1 second, I can simply enter any value that I want. Let's put it at 2.5 seconds because I'm working in 24 frames. Half of a second is 12 frames. You'll see the effect extend down. I'm simply going to hit render. I'll render to the Jesse drive here, and you'll see that in a matter of seconds, the transition is ready to go. So let's close the effect editor. Now that our render's done, I'm simply going to hit home on the keyboard, and I'm going to hit play, and you're going to see that we have this fantastic looking cosmic zoom that really took no time at all to put into our timeline. Now again, much like it said in the intro, I've got a bonus for all of you Avid Media Composer 6 and Symphony 6 editors out there. What I'm going to do is just close the effects palette. You're going to see that inside my settings, I have no bin settings. I have no bin views set up. That's something important to keep in mind when I'm about to show you what I'm going to show you. What I'm going to do is I'm going to hit Command and O on the keyboard, Control and O for all of my Windows friends out there. What we're going to do is we're going to navigate. I'm just going to click on the stock footage, and let's come back up to my iMac here. Let's come into the Lion drive. Let's go into Applications. Again, we're going to the Ice Cream Factory, and what I want to do, and we should make sure that we're actually on our bins here. I'm just going to hit Command and O again. There we go. I'm going to come down to my bin here that's actually got all of these presets ready to go. But what's the most important thing is that when you open this, you're going to see there's all the effects. But what I've done is created a very interesting bin view that you can save. Now remember, like I said, I don't have any bin views in here. So what I can do is simply say save as, and you'll see that because I originally called this bin view DVE organization, I can actually just save it as the exact same name. And the great thing is that if you want to go through and find a specific number, so for example, we were working with number 50, no problem. I know that that's the cosmic zoom out. If your client wants a transition that has motion blur and eases, this is a great way to get in and tell which DVE effects have motion blurs and eases. Also, the other thing that's important to point out is that in a lot of cases, depending on what's going on in the transition, it might either be the outgoing shot that's affected or the incoming shot, or in some cases, it's neither shot. And you can see that I've gotten in here and I've differentiated between the outgoing and the incoming shot. So I hope that one thing that you've seen with this package is I've tried to get in and make these effects not only something that are great to look at, but something that's also very, very simple to get in and use. And let me tell you something, with the power of Boris RED 5 and Avid FX, creating and using these effects has never been easier than it has before. This has been Kevin P. McAuliffe. Thanks a lot for watching.